History remembers Blackbeard. History remembers the burning fuses woven into his beard. History remembers the cannons, the treasure, the terror. History remembers the pirate who made entire navies turn around. But history never explains why even pirates refused to sail where Blackbeard was going. For more than 300 years, sailors have whispered about one place, not marked on any map, not claimed by any king, a stretch of ocean where the stars disappeared, the wind stopped, and every compass pointed straight down. Ships entered. None returned. The few pieces of wreckage that drifted back to civilization carried no cannon damage, no burn marks, no signs of battle. Only one strange symbol carved into every plank, a black crown floating above the sea. Most historians dismissed the stories as drunken sailor tales, until an old sea journal was discovered inside a bottle sealed with black wax. The paper should have dissolved centuries earlier. Instead, the ink looked freshly written. Across the first page, only 6 words had been carefully written. Blackbeard was never chasing treasure. The journal belonged to Samuel Reed. Not a pirate, not a navy officer, a ship's cartographer. His job wasn't fighting. His job was drawing maps. He recorded every island, every reef, every hidden passage through the Caribbean. His final journal entry ended with one unfinished sentence. The captain finally showed me. Nothing more. No signature. No explanation. Just blank pages. 1718. Aboard the Queen Anne's Revenge. The sea was strangely quiet. No gulls flew overhead. No dolphins followed the ship. Even the waves barely touched the hull. Samuel carefully studied his charts. None of them matched the ocean before him. Entire islands had disappeared. New reefs had appeared overnight. It was as though the sea itself was moving. Heavy footsteps echoed across the deck. Captain Edward Teach, Blackbeard. He stood nearly a head taller than every man aboard. His long black beard reached his chest. Several slow-burning fuses glowed within it. Smoke surrounded his face. His dark coat fluttered in the wind. Across his chest rested pistols. At his side, a weathered cutlass. Yet it wasn't his weapons. That unsettled Samuel. It was his eyes. They weren't searching for enemy ships. They were searching the horizon, as though waiting for someone. Blackbeard stopped beside Samuel. How far? Samuel looked down at the charts. I can't answer. The sea isn't where it's supposed to be. Blackbeard smiled. It never is. Samuel frowned. You've been here before. The pirate captain quietly nodded. Once. I swore I'd never return. Before Samuel could ask another question, the lookout shouted from the mast. Land! Every pirate rushed to the rail. There was no island, only thick black fog, rolling across perfectly still water. The fog wasn't drifting. It was waiting. One by one, every pirate aboard removed his hat. None spoke. None laughed. Even the hardest killers aboard the ship looked afraid. Samuel whispered, "What is this place?" Blackbeard answered, without taking his eyes off the fog. "The Devil's Sea." Silence. I thought it was only a legend. Blackbeard quietly replied, "So did I." The first time, he reached into his coat, carefully removing an old wooden compass. Unlike every normal compass, its needle didn't point north, it pointed toward the fog. Then, the impossible happened. The compass began beating. Like a heart, one, slow, ancient. Every pirate aboard immediately stepped backward. The oldest sailor crossed himself. "No, it's awake." Blackbeard slowly closed his hand around the compass. "I know. The black fog suddenly split apart. A narrow passage opened through the darkness. Far beyond it stood an island. No map had ever recorded it. Towering black cliffs surrounded its shores. At its center rose an enormous lighthouse, not shining white, burning with crimson fire. Samuel whispered, "Who built that?" Blackbeard quietly answered, "No one." It was already burning when the first ship crossed this ocean. The ship began moving, not under sail, not by current. Something beneath the sea was pulling it forward. The crew tried dropping the anchor. The anchor disappeared into the water. It never touched the bottom. The sea beneath them had no end. The wooden compass suddenly flew from Blackbeard's hand. It hovered above the deck. Its lid slowly opened. Inside wasn't a needle. It held a tiny black key. The key began glowing. A deep voice echoed across the silent sea. Not from the island, not from the ship, from beneath the water. "The captain has returned." Every pirate froze. Samuel looked over the side of the ship. The ocean was no longer reflecting the sky. It reflected another world. A city, hidden beneath the sea. Thousands of black ships rested in silent harbors. An enormous stone throne stood at the center, empty, waiting. Blackbeard slowly drew his cutlass. His voice became almost a whisper. "I didn't come back for the throne." The voice beneath the ocean laughed, softly, patiently. "No, you came back to become its king." The crimson lighthouse suddenly flared brighter than the sun. The sea split open, and something, far below the waves, opened. Its eyes, the eyes opened. Far beneath the ocean, something ancient awakened. Not with a roar, with a heartbeat. One, slow, powerful. The sound traveled through the hull of the Queen Anne's Revenge. Every plank vibrated. Every cannon rattled. The sea itself stopped moving. Samuel gripped the railing. "What was that?" Blackbeard never answered. His eyes remained fixed on the water below. His weathered face showed something Samuel had never imagined. Fear. The black key continued floating above the deck. Its dark metal pulsed like a living heart. The mysterious voice beneath the sea whispered again, "Welcome home." Every pirate aboard immediately lowered his head. Not because they were ordered to, because they remembered. The oldest sailor quietly muttered, "It still knows us." Samuel frowned. "You've all been here before?" Blackbeard slowly nodded. "Long ago. We were the only ones who escaped." Silence covered the ship. The crimson lighthouse continued burning across the water. Its light didn't illuminate the sea. It illuminated the darkness beneath it. The ocean suddenly became transparent. Samuel looked down. His blood froze. The city beneath the waves wasn't ruined. It was alive. Thousands of enormous black ships rested silently inside underwater harbors. Every sail remained raised. Every cannon pointed toward the surface. At the city's center, the massive stone throne still stood empty, waiting. Blackbeard whispered, "It never chose another." The floating black key suddenly drifted toward him. It stopped inches from his chest. The ancient voice laughed softly. "The throne remembers." Blackbeard refused to touch it. "I buried that name." The sea answered. "The sea never forgets." Suddenly, the water around the ship began spinning, not into a storm, into a perfect circle. A gigantic whirlpool opened beneath them. The Queen Anne's Revenge slowly descended. No sails moved, no wind blew. The ship simply sank, yet no water entered the deck. Samuel shouted, "We're sinking!" Blackbeard calmly shook his head. "No, we're arriving." The ship passed through the surface. then deeper. Sunlight disappeared. Fish vanished. The ocean grew strangely bright, not from above, from below. The underwater kingdom glowed with pale blue fire. Ancient stone streets stretched beneath the sea. Massive anchors taller than castles lined the harbor. Ships unlike anything Samuel had ever seen rested silently in perfect rows. Some were built from black oak, others from something that looked like polished obsidian. None had rotted. None had aged. They had been waiting for centuries. The ship finally stopped beside an enormous dock. No one greeted them. No soldiers. No guards. Only silence. Blackbeard stepped onto the stone pier. Every pirate followed. Samuel hesitated. The moment his boots touched the ground, he realized he could breathe. There was no water, only air, as though the sea itself had parted. He whispered, "This place," Blackbeard quietly answered, "exists between tides." The pirates slowly walked toward the enormous throne. Each step echoed across the empty kingdom. Ancient buildings lined the streets. Taverns, markets, shipyards. Every table remained set. Every lantern still burned. It looked as though the entire city had vanished in the middle of a single afternoon. Samuel stopped beside an old sign hanging above a weathered tavern. The carved words read, "Last Harbor of the Lost Fleet." He looked toward Blackbeard. "Who lived here?" The pirate captain answered. "Every pirate. Before history." The black key suddenly flew ahead. It stopped before the giant throne. The stone seat began glowing. Cracks spread across its surface. Then it opened. Inside the throne rested a magnificent black crown. Unlike any royal crown, it wasn't decorated with jewels. It was forged from 13 broken ship wheels. Tiny silver anchors circled its edges. At its center, a single black pearl glowed softly. The oldest pirate immediately fell to his knees. The tide crown. Blackbeard closed his eyes. I prayed I'd never see it again. Samuel whispered, "What is it?" Blackbeard answered, "The first pirate king's burden." The ancient voice echoed through the underwater kingdom. "Wear it? No. Rule? Never. Then watch your world drown." The sea suddenly shook violently. The peaceful harbor cracked apart. One enormous chain burst from beneath the throne, then another, then another. 13 colossal chains stretched downward into an endless abyss beneath the city. Every chain trembled violently. Something below was pulling them. The pirates stepped backward. Samuel looked into the darkness. "What are they holding?" No one answered, because they already knew. One of the 13 chains snapped. The sound echoed through every ocean on Earth. Far above, a massive tidal wave rose across the Caribbean. The crimson lighthouse outside the city suddenly burned brighter. Its light revealed something, moving beneath the abyss, something larger than the entire underwater kingdom. Blackbeard slowly drew his cutlass. His voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't become a pirate to steal gold." He looked toward the endless darkness below. "I became one to guard the sea." At that exact moment, 2 enormous emerald eyes opened beneath the broken chains, and the entire underwater kingdom began to shake. The emerald eyes opened. The underwater kingdom trembled. Every ancient ship moored in the silent harbor creaked at once. The 13 chains groaned beneath the throne. One had already broken. 12 remained. Blackbeard stood perfectly still. His cutlass remained lowered. Samuel whispered, "What is it?" Blackbeard answered, without looking away, "The reason. The first pirates were never thieves. Silence. The emerald eyes slowly rose from the abyss. Not the creature itself, only its gaze. It was so enormous that each eye alone was larger than Blackbeard's entire ship. The oldest pirate quietly removed his hat. We failed. Blackbeard slowly shook his head. Not yet. The tide crown continued floating above the throne. Its black pearl pulsed with every heartbeat beneath the sea. The mysterious voice echoed again. The chains weaken. The king must return. Samuel looked toward Blackbeard. You were here before. The pirate captain finally nodded. I was 18. I wasn't hunting treasure. I was running from the Royal Navy. His face darkened. I found this kingdom by accident. The ancient harbor suddenly filled with silver mist. The mist formed into memories. A much younger Edward Teach sailed alone through a violent storm. His small ship struck hidden rocks. The mast snapped. The sails burned with strange blue fire. He expected to drown. Instead, the sea swallowed him whole. He awoke inside this very harbor, standing before the same throne, the same tide crown, the same 13 chains, the same emerald eyes, watching from below. The memory faded. Samuel whispered, "So you became king?" Blackbeard quietly answered, "No, I ran." The voice beneath the sea laughed. "You delayed destiny. You never escaped it." Suddenly, another chain snapped. The thunder echoed across the kingdom. The harbor tilted violently. Ancient buildings cracked. Black water poured from the abyss. The emerald eyes rose higher. Now, Samuel could see part of the creature's face. Not a serpent, not a whale. It resembled an enormous pirate. Its beard flowed like black seaweed. Its long hair drifted through the abyss like storm clouds. Its skin looked carved from ancient stone. Across its forehead rested the broken remains of a crown. The oldest sailor whispered, "The drowned king." Blackbeard slowly closed his eyes. "The first pirate?" Samuel frowned. "The first pirate looked like that?" Blackbeard answered, "No. He became that." The tide crown suddenly burst into crimson light. The ancient book resting beside the throne opened by itself. Its pages were soaked with seawater, yet every word glowed like fresh ink. Across the first page appeared a single sentence. "The first pirate never stole gold." Another sentence slowly formed. "He stole the sea itself." The cavern walls transformed into living memories. Thousands of years earlier, before kingdoms, before empires, the oceans belonged to no one. The seas were calm, endless, peaceful. At the edge of the world stood one magnificent harbor. Ships from every land gathered there. No wars, no flags, no kings, only sailors. At the center of the harbor stood one captain. Long black hair, a flowing beard, simple clothes, no weapons, no crown. He wasn't feared. He was trusted. The keeper of the sea. The vision darkened. One terrible night. A voice rose from beneath the deepest trench. "Take the oceans. Rule every tide." The captain refused. The voice returned. "Then watch every sailor drown." The captain looked toward his people, toward their families, toward their children. He knew there was only one way. He descended into the abyss. The sea swallowed him. 3 days later, he returned, alive, changed. His blood had become black. His heartbeat belonged to the ocean. The first pirate king had been born, not through greed, through sacrifice. The vision ended. Samuel looked toward Blackbeard. "So the crown," Blackbeard nodded, "never made rulers. It made guardians." The drowned king suddenly smiled. Its enormous stone lips slowly opened. "I remember. My son." Blackbeard froze. The words struck him like cannon fire. What? The gigantic creature slowly lifted one colossal hand. Its finger pointed directly toward Blackbeard. You carry my blood. Silence. Every pirate aboard the ancient harbor stared at their captain. Samuel whispered, That's impossible. Blackbeard's face turned pale. My father was a sailor. The drowned king quietly laughed. So was I. The tied crown immediately flew toward Blackbeard. It hovered only inches above his head, waiting. The ancient voice beneath the sea whispered, Blood remembers, even when history forgets. At that exact moment, the third chain snapped. The underwater kingdom lurched violently. Far below, another pair of emerald eyes slowly opened, and the drowned king looked afraid. The second pair of emerald eyes opened. The entire underwater kingdom fell silent. Even the drowned king stepped backward, his enormous stone face filled with fear. Blackbeard stared into the endless abyss. What could frighten you? The ancient pirate king answered quietly. The one who taught me how to command the sea. The broken chains trembled violently. 11 remained. 2 had already fallen. The abyss slowly glowed with an eerie green light. Not from fire, not from magic, from countless emerald symbols rising through the darkness. Each symbol resembled a ship's wheel. The tied crown above Blackbeard's head began spinning by itself. The black pearl at its center pulsed faster. The ancient book beside the throne burst open. Fresh seawater flowed across its pages. Words slowly appeared. The first pirate was never the first king. Another line formed. He served the first captain. Samuel whispered. There was someone before him. Blackbeard slowly nodded. I feared there was. The emerald light below became brighter. Then, a gigantic anchor rose from the abyss. It wasn't made of iron. It looked carved from black crystal. Its chain stretched endlessly into the darkness below. The anchor alone was larger than an entire fortress. The drowned king immediately lowered his head. My captain. Silence. The anchor stopped rising. Then, a ship followed, not floating, climbing, slowly emerging from the endless trench. It dwarfed every vessel in the harbor. Its hull was black as midnight. Its sails resembled living storm clouds. No flag flew above it, only a massive silver compass burning upon the mast. Samuel's voice trembled. No ship could be that large. Blackbeard quietly answered, It isn't a ship. It's a kingdom. The ghostly vessel finally stopped beside the harbor. No crew stood upon its deck, no cannons, no ropes, only one man. He stood at the bow, long silver hair, a beard reaching his waist, a weathered black captain's coat. One hand rested upon an ancient wooden wheel. His other hand held no sword, only a lantern. Its flame burned green beneath the sea. The old captain slowly opened his eyes. Unlike the drowned king's emerald eyes, his reflected the ocean itself. Calm, endless, ancient. He looked toward Blackbeard. So, you finally returned. Blackbeard swallowed slowly. You know me. The captain smiled. I knew. Your grandfather. Silence. I knew. His father. Another pause. I knew. The first Teach. Samuel stared in disbelief. The Teach family. The old captain nodded. They have guarded this sea for nearly 2,000 years. The harbor trembled. Another chain cracked. The captain's calm expression faded. There isn't much time. The drowned king stepped beside him. My captain. The prison weakens. The old sailor quietly nodded. I know. Blackbeard stepped closer. What prison? Instead of answering, The captain lifted his green lantern. Its light spread across the harbor. The water transformed into memory. Thousands of years earlier, before pirates, before kingdoms, the oceans belonged to one man. Not a king, a navigator. He traveled farther than anyone alive, mapping waters no human had ever seen. One night, his ship reached the edge of the world. There, the sea simply ended. Beyond it was endless darkness. From that darkness, a voice whispered, "Sail farther." The navigator refused. The voice whispered again, "Then I will sail to you." The sea erupted. A colossal shadow climbed from the endless void. The navigator understood. If it entered the oceans, every shore, every island, every kingdom would disappear forever. So he made a choice. He chained the darkness to the bottom of the sea. The chains became tides. The tides became oceans. The oceans became the prison. The memory vanished. Samuel slowly whispered, "So every ocean," the captain nodded, "exists. Because something worse lies beneath it." The entire harbor shook violently. A fourth chain snapped. The sound echoed through every sea on earth. Above the surface, storms formed across every ocean. Ships vanished beneath impossible waves. The old captain looked toward Blackbeard. "The tide crown." Blackbeard looked up. It still hovered above him. "I don't want it." The captain smiled sadly. "No keeper ever does." The crown slowly descended. It rested gently upon Blackbeard's head. Instantly, his eyes flashed emerald, then silver, then human once again. The harbor exploded with green light. Every ghost ship in the ancient kingdom rang its bells together. The old captain whispered, "It remembers you." Suddenly, the sea behind the colossal ghost ship split apart. Not into a whirlpool, into a giant mouth. Rows of black teeth, larger than ships, rose from the abyss. The old captain's face turned pale. "No, it found the last harbor." The ancient book flipped to its final hidden page. Only one sentence appeared. "The greatest treasure Blackbeard ever guarded." A second line slowly formed beneath it. "Was never meant to be found." From the endless mouth beneath the sea, an eye larger than the moon slowly opened, and every pirate forgot how to breathe. The enormous eye opened. It was larger than the moon. Its emerald iris slowly turned toward Blackbeard. The entire underwater kingdom froze. Every ghost ship became silent. Every ancient bell stopped ringing. Even the sea itself refused to move. Blackbeard stood motionless beneath the tide crown. For the first time in decades, his hands trembled. The old captain lowered his green lantern. "It found him," Samuel whispered. "What is that thing?" The drowned king answered quietly. "The deep sovereign." Silence. The first ruler of the endless sea. The eye blinked once. The harbor shook violently. 5 of the remaining chains groaned under impossible pressure. The black mouth beneath the ocean slowly opened wider. Inside, there were no teeth, only darkness, endless darkness. It looked less like a creature and more like an ocean without an end. The ancient book burst open. Its pages turned faster than the tide. Fresh emerald words appeared across the parchment. "The first pirate never stole treasure." Another sentence slowly formed. "He stole the key to the deep." Samuel stared at the glowing words. "The key?" The old captain slowly nodded. "The greatest treasure was never gold." He raised the green lantern. Its light illuminated the center of the ancient throne. A hidden compartment slowly opened. Inside rested a weathered wooden chest. No jewels, no silver, no coins. Only 13 black locks surrounded its edges. Each lock carried the same symbol, a silver compass. Blackbeard whispered. "I buried it." The old captain quietly answered. "No, you hid it. The sea buried it." The chest suddenly began, beating, like a living heart. One, slow, ancient. The deep sovereign laughed beneath the abyss. The sound rolled through every ocean on Earth. Above the surface, massive waves crashed against distant shores. Ships disappeared beneath impossible storms. Lighthouses shook from coast to coast. Samuel looked toward Blackbeard. "What's inside?" Blackbeard never answered. Instead, he slowly walked toward the chest. Every pirate stepped aside. None dared follow. The tide crown glowed brighter. The 13 locks began unlocking themselves. 1, 2, 3, until only one remained. Blackbeard gently placed his hand upon the final lock. His eyes closed. Another memory appeared. Years earlier, before he had become the most feared pirate alive. Edward Teach had returned to the last harbor. The old captain had placed the chest into his hands. "Take it." Young Edward stared in confusion. "What is it?" The captain answered. "The only treasure that must never be found." Edward frowned. "Why me?" The captain smiled. "Because history will believe you're chasing gold. They'll never suspect. You're hiding hope." The memory disappeared. Samuel slowly realized the truth. Every raid, every battle, every treasure fleet. Blackbeard nodded. "A disguise. I wasn't searching. I was keeping everyone away from here." The final lock clicked open. The chest slowly lifted its lid. A brilliant silver light filled the harbor. Inside rested a single crystal compass. Unlike every compass ever made, its needle didn't point north. It pointed toward the human heart. The old captain whispered, "The heart compass, the last treasure of the first navigator." The deep sovereign roared, "Destroy it!" Instantly, the abyss exploded. Gigantic tentacles made of black water burst upward. They wrapped around ancient ships. Ghost vessels shattered like glass. The harbor collapsed. The immortal pirate guardians drew their cutlasses. "Protect the compass!" Battle erupted. Silver steel clashed against living water. Cannons fired without crews. Green flames illuminated the sea. The drowned king charged the monstrous tentacles. His stone cutlass split the darkness in two. Yet every wound immediately healed. The deep sovereign laughed. "You cannot wound the sea itself." Blackbeard picked up the crystal compass. The moment his fingers touched it, the tide crown transformed. Its 13 silver anchors unfolded into 13 glowing stars. Ancient symbols appeared around its edge. The crown was never made to rule the ocean. Another line slowly formed. It exists to protect the compass. Samuel looked toward the crystal needle. It wasn't pointing toward the monster. It wasn't pointing toward the throne. It slowly turned toward Blackbeard. The old captain smiled sadly. "It has chosen." Blackbeard looked down. "I don't want this." "No keeper," the captain answered, "ever does." Suddenly, the heart compass cracked. A single beam of silver light shot downward into the deepest part of the abyss. The deep sovereign immediately stopped attacking. Its enormous eye widened. "No!" It found the first harbor. The entire underwater kingdom began shaking. Far below the broken seabed, another ancient city started rising. Older than the last harbor, older than the oceans themselves. Its silver towers slowly emerged from the darkness. At the center stood an enormous lighthouse, not burning crimson, not burning green. Its flame was pure white. The old captain's face turned pale. I prayed. This place would never awaken again. The white lighthouse suddenly flashed once. The beam struck Blackbeard, the tide crown, and the crystal compass, all at the same time. The ancient book opened to a hidden final page. Only one sentence appeared. The greatest secret Blackbeard ever hid. A second sentence slowly formed beneath it. Was the first pirate king still alive? From the top of the white lighthouse, a lone figure slowly stepped into the light. The lone figure stepped into the light. The white lighthouse illuminated the ancient harbor. Every ghost ship became still. Every emerald flame bowed toward the shore. Even the deep sovereign stopped moving. The old captain slowly removed his hat. His voice trembled. "My king." Blackbeard stared across the water. The stranger wore no crown, no jewels, no armor. Only a weathered black captain's coat, faded by centuries of salt and wind. His long silver hair rested upon his shoulders. His beard flowed across his chest. In one hand, he carried a wooden ship's wheel. In the other, an old compass. Its needle spun endlessly. Samuel whispered, "He's alive." The old captain quietly answered, "He was never allowed to die." The first pirate king smiled. His face carried neither sorrow nor anger, only endless weariness. He looked directly at Blackbeard. "You've protected it well." Blackbeard slowly lowered his cutlass. "I tried." The old king nodded. "I know." The deep sovereign suddenly roared. The white lighthouse shook violently. Gigantic waves of black water surged through the harbor. Ancient ghost ships broke free from their docks. The deep sovereign's voice echoed beneath every ocean. "Return the heart compass." The first pirate king quietly answered, "It was never yours." The creature laughed. "It belongs to the sea." The old king slowly shook his head. "No, it belongs to humanity." Silence. Samuel looked toward the crystal compass, still glowing in Blackbeard's hands. "What does it do?" The first pirate king walked toward him. With every step, the broken harbor slowly repaired itself. Cracked stone became whole. Broken ships mended. The water calmed. He gently placed one finger upon the compass. It never finds treasure. It finds the right course. The ancient book burst open again. Every page became a living memory. Thousands of years earlier, before the oceans had names, before the first kingdom, the world had only one sea, peaceful, boundless. The first pirate king sailed farther than any sailor dared, not searching for riches, searching for the end of the horizon. At the edge of the world, he discovered the endless abyss, a doorway beneath the sea. From within it, the deep sovereign whispered, "Guide me, and I will make you ruler of every ocean." The captain refused. The creature continued, "Then no sailor will ever reach home again." The vision darkened. Storms swallowed fleets. Entire islands vanished beneath impossible tides. The captain understood. There was only one way. He sailed directly into the abyss, carrying the heart compass. The compass sealed the doorway. The oceans became calm again, but the captain could never leave. He became the eternal keeper. The memory faded. Samuel slowly whispered, "So Blackbeard?" The old captain smiled, was never hunting treasure. He was replacing the keeper. Blackbeard looked toward the first pirate king. "You knew I'd return." The old sailor nodded. "The compass always finds its next guardian." The tide crown suddenly blazed with brilliant emerald light. The 13 silver stars around it unfolded into 13 glowing anchors. Ancient words appeared around its edge. "The sea belongs to no king." Another line followed. Only its keeper may stand watch. The Deep Sovereign roared louder than ever before. 3 more chains exploded. Only 6 remained. The abyss split open. Half of the creature finally emerged. Its body wasn't flesh, it was living ocean. Entire shipwrecks floated within its enormous form. Cannons, masts, treasures, thousands of lost vessels, trapped inside it forever. The old captain whispered, "It has grown stronger." The first pirate king nodded. "It feeds on everything. The sea refuses to return." The creature smiled. "Then give me the compass." Blackbeard stepped forward. "No." The Deep Sovereign laughed. "You cannot protect it forever." Blackbeard quietly answered, "I don't have to." He turned toward Samuel. The historian frowned. "What?" Blackbeard carefully placed the crystal compass into Samuel's hands. The moment Samuel touched it, the compass stopped spinning. Its needle pointed straight toward him. The old captain smiled. "It remembers the map makers." Samuel looked confused. "My family?" The first pirate king nodded. "The navigators. The keepers of every chart. The ones who ensured the heart compass could never be lost." The crystal compass suddenly dissolved into pure white light. It entered Samuel's chest. His eyes flashed like moonlight upon calm water. The Deep Sovereign screamed, "No! The navigator has awakened." The sea erupted. The white lighthouse blazed brighter than the sun. Its beam pierced the deepest abyss. Far below, another gigantic chain, older than the oceans themselves, began rising toward the surface. The first pirate king's peaceful smile disappeared. It found the final anchor. The ancient book slowly turned to its last unwritten page. Only one sentence appeared. The greatest treasure Blackbeard ever protected. Another line formed beneath it. Was never gold. It was the last safe harbor on Earth. Far beneath the rising final anchor, something colossal opened. Both eyes, the colossal eyes, opened. Far beneath the final anchor, something ancient awakened. Not with fury, not with hunger, with silence. The entire ocean became still. The waves above the surface stopped moving. Ships across the Atlantic drifted motionless. No wind, no tide, only one heartbeat, echoing beneath every sea. The Deep Sovereign slowly retreated. Its enormous body trembled. Blackbeard stared in disbelief. "You are afraid?" The creature answered quietly. "It has awakened." The final anchor continued rising. Its black chain stretched endlessly into the abyss. Every ancient link was covered with silver symbols older than language itself. The first pirate king slowly bowed his head. "The first harbor is opening." Samuel clutched his chest. The heart compass now beat where his heart had once been. Each pulse illuminated hidden paths beneath the ocean floor, ancient sea routes, forgotten kingdoms, buried fleets. Then, one path shone brighter than all the others. It led beneath the final anchor. The old captain whispered, "It chose him." Blackbeard looked toward Samuel. "The navigator." The young cartographer nodded slowly. "I can see it." "What?" Samuel stared into the darkness. "A city. Beneath the abyss." The white lighthouse suddenly projected another memory. Thousands of years earlier, before pirates, before empires, before maps. One magnificent harbor stood at the center of the world. Ships from every nation gathered there. No flags, no wars, no borders. Every captain followed one law: leave every sailor alive. At the center of the harbor stood a single lighthouse. Its white flame never faded. The first pirate king guarded it. Not because it was beautiful, because beneath it rested the final anchor. the memory darkened. One terrible night, the sea itself split apart. The deep sovereign climbed from the endless abyss. It offered every captain one gift. No storms, no death. Rule every ocean. Some accepted, some refused. The sea became divided forever. The captains who accepted became pirates. The captain who refused became the keeper. The vision vanished. Samuel whispered, "So piracy." The first pirate king quietly nodded. "Was born from one choice." The deep sovereign roared, "Lies!" Its massive tentacles exploded upward. They wrapped around the white lighthouse. Ancient stone cracked. The white flame flickered. The entire harbor shook violently. Another chain snapped. Only 5 remained. The deep sovereign laughed. "The last harbor falls today." Blackbeard stepped forward. "No." He drew his weathered cutlass. The blade suddenly transformed. Its rust vanished. The steel became brilliant silver. Ancient letters appeared along its edge. "The sea belongs to those who protect it." The Tide Crown answered. Its 13 anchors floated around Blackbeard like glowing stars. The immortal pirate guardians raised their own silver cutlasses. The old captain smiled proudly. They remember. Every ghost ship in the harbor suddenly fired its cannons. Not cannonballs. Beams of emerald light. The blasts struck the deep sovereign. The creature staggered. Yet it wasn't wounded, only slowed. The first pirate king turned toward Samuel. "The heart compass." Samuel nodded. "I know." He raised both hands. The white light inside his chest spread across the harbor. Every ghost ship suddenly revealed glowing lines beneath its hull. Ancient routes, invisible currents, the true map of the oceans. Blackbeard stared. So that's what the compass guarded. The first pirate king smiled. The safe passage. The sea was never dangerous. It was misunderstood. The deep sovereign screamed, "Destroy the map!" Black water erupted from the abyss. Thousands of drowned pirate spirits climbed from the sea, long-haired, long-bearded, still wearing shattered captain's coats. Their empty emerald eyes glowed with endless sorrow. The oldest guardian whispered, "The lost fleet." The spirits slowly marched toward Samuel, not attacking, reaching, as though begging, to come home. Samuel hesitated. "They're trapped." The first pirate king quietly nodded. They followed greed, when they should have followed the stars. The heart compass suddenly pulsed. A beam of white light crossed the harbor. One by one, the lost captains remembered. Their ships, their families, their promises. Their emerald eyes became human once again. The ghostly fleet lowered their weapons. The deep sovereign roared in fury. "No! They belong to me!" The spirits turned together. Not toward Blackbeard, toward the deep sovereign. Thousands of forgotten captains raised their silver cutlasses. For the first time in history, the lost fleet sailed against the darkness that had created it. The white lighthouse burst into brilliant light. The final anchor locked into place. The deep sovereign stumbled backward. Its enormous body began cracking. But deep beneath the endless abyss, a slow, ancient horn echoed through the darkness. The first pirate king's peaceful smile disappeared. He whispered, "No." "It heard us." Blackbeard looked toward the endless trench. "What heard us?" The old keeper slowly pointed beneath the final anchor. The water below began swirling into a perfect circle. And from the deepest part of the abyss, the outline of a ship, larger than an entire island, slowly began rising toward the last harbor. The shadow kept rising, slowly, silently. The water around the last harbor began retreating, not because of a storm, because something beneath the sea was pushing the ocean aside. The enormous outline grew larger, larger than every ghost ship combined, larger than the ancient harbor itself. The first pirate king never looked away. His voice became almost a whisper. "The silent flagship." Blackbeard frowned. "I thought it was only a legend." The old keeper slowly nodded. So did every captain, until they saw it. The final anchor trembled violently. The white lighthouse dimmed. The Deep Sovereign stopped attacking. Instead, it lowered its head, as though greeting its master. Samuel felt the heart compass pounding inside his chest. Every heartbeat grew faster. The ancient sea routes surrounding the harbor suddenly changed. The glowing paths all began pointing toward the rising ship. "No," Samuel whispered. "It's coming here." The old captain answered quietly. "It always does." The ocean exploded. A massive black bow pierced the surface. Its hull was carved from a single piece of obsidian. Not a single crack marked its sides. No cannon ports, no ropes, no sails. Only hundreds of silver anchors hanging silently from its sides. Then, its mast emerged. It stretched so high, its top disappeared beyond the water above. At its peak, a single flag slowly unfolded. Not black, white. Across it, a silver compass surrounded by 13 stars. Every immortal pirate guardian immediately dropped to one knee. The lost fleet lowered their swords. Even the Deep Sovereign closed its enormous emerald eyes. Blackbeard whispered, "Whose ship is that?" The first pirate king answered. "The first ship ever built." Silence filled the harbor. Then, heavy footsteps echoed across the empty deck. One. Slow, ancient. A figure emerged from the shadows. Long white hair, a flowing silver beard. A weathered captain's coat older than history itself. No crown, no weapon. Only a simple wooden wheel held beneath one arm. His calm grey eyes surveyed the harbor. Then, he smiled. "My children, you've kept the sea safe." The first pirate king immediately bowed. "My captain?" Samuel looked toward Blackbeard. There was someone before the first pirate king. Blackbeard quietly nodded. "The first captain." The ancient book burst open. Every page turned into brilliant white light. A final forgotten memory unfolded. Before kingdoms, before nations, before maps, humanity feared the oceans. One man refused. He built the world's first ship, not for conquest, not for riches, to discover. He sailed farther than anyone had ever dreamed. He united distant peoples, shared knowledge, saved lost sailors. Every captain learned from him. Then, he reached the endless abyss. A voice rose from below. "Rule every ocean." He quietly smiled. "I already serve it." The darkness attacked. He couldn't destroy it. So he built the final anchor, the last harbor, the ghost fleet, the pirate keepers. Every generation guarded the sea after him. The memory vanished. Samuel slowly understood. Pirates, the first captain nodded, were never meant to steal. They were meant to protect. The Deep Sovereign roared. "Lies!" Its massive body crashed against the final anchor. A fifth chain exploded. Only 4 remained. The silent flagship rocked slightly. The first captain sighed. "You've forgotten why I chose you." The Deep Sovereign laughed. "I chose myself." The old captain quietly answered, "Exactly." The heart compass suddenly blazed with pure white light. Every sea route across the harbor became visible, not just beneath the city, across the entire world. Samuel gasped. "I can see every ocean." The first captain smiled. "You are now the navigator." Blackbeard looked down at the tide crown. Its 13 silver anchors detached, each transformed into a brilliant key. The ancient words upon the crown changed. "The crown does not command the sea." Another line appeared. "It opens the final lock." Blackbeard frowned. What lock? The first captain slowly pointed toward the bow of the silent flagship. A massive black door slowly appeared in the center of the deck. No handle, no hinges. Only 13 keyholes surrounded its edges. The 13 silver keys floating around Blackbeard began glowing. The first captain's expression suddenly became serious. Behind that door rests the one treasure no pirate was ever allowed to claim. Samuel looked toward him. What treasure? The first captain answered quietly. The freedom of the sea. Silence. If that door opens, the oceans will never need keepers again. The deep sovereign's emerald eyes widened. No, it belongs to me. It hurled itself toward the silent flagship. The final anchor groaned. The remaining 4 chains stretched to their limit. The last harbor shook. The white lighthouse flickered. The 13 silver keys floated toward the black door. One by one, the ancient book turned to its final unwritten page. Only one sentence appeared. Blackbeard never searched for the greatest treasure. Another line slowly formed beneath it. He spent his life making sure no one ever opened the final door. The first silver key slid into its lock. The ancient black door began opening from the inside. The first silver key turned. A deep sound echoed through the silent flagship. Not a lock, a heartbeat. Ancient, peaceful. The black door slowly opened. Only an inch. Brilliant white light poured across the harbor. The deep sovereign screamed. The last harbor shook. Every remaining chain groaned beneath impossible pressure. Blackbeard stepped backward. What is behind that door? The first captain remained silent. For a long moment, he simply watched the light. Then he quietly answered. The beginning. Silence. Samuel felt the heart compass pounding inside his chest. Every heartbeat became stronger. The glowing sea routes surrounding the harbor began changing again. This time, they didn't point toward treasure. They pointed home. Every lost ship across every ocean suddenly knew where it belonged. The lost fleet looked toward the white light. One by one, their ghostly faces became peaceful. The oldest pirate whispered, I remember. My harbor. The deep sovereign roared, Do not look. But it was already too late. The white light continued spreading. It reached the ghost ships, the drowned captains, even the immortal guardians. Each remembered the first voyage they had ever taken, the first sunrise they had watched from the sea, the first promise they had made to protect every sailor beside them. The ancient book burst open. Its final hidden memory unfolded. Before the oceans had names, before kingdoms claimed coastlines, the first captain stood before the same black door. It was already ancient, already waiting. The 13 silver keys floated around him. A voice from within the door spoke gently. Open it, the first captain asked. What waits beyond? The voice answered. A world where no one fears the sea. He reached toward the lock, then stopped. He lowered his hand. No. The voice remained calm. Why? The first captain smiled sadly. Because people must choose to respect the sea. They cannot be forced. The 13 keys scattered across the world. The last harbor was built. The keepers were chosen. The final door remained closed. The vision faded. Samuel whispered, So the treasure, the first captain nodded, was never meant or to belong to anyone. The second key floated into its lock. Click. The door opened another inch. The white light became even brighter. The deep sovereign staggered backward. Its enormous body began cracking. Entire shipwrecks trapped inside its form broke free. Ancient vessels floated peacefully toward the surface. The monster roared in fury. "You are freeing them!" The first pirate king quietly smiled. "They were never yours." Blackbeard tightened his grip on his silver cutlass. The tide crown glowed brighter than ever before. The remaining 11 keys circled him like stars. The ancient words upon the crown changed once more. The final door opens. A second line appeared. "Only for those who never seek to open it," Blackbeard slowly understood. "It doesn't choose conquerors," the first captain smiled. "It chooses guardians." Suddenly, the harbor split apart. The Deep Sovereign lunged toward the black door. Its gigantic jaws opened wider than the lighthouse. Black water swallowed entire docks. Ghost ships fired every cannon they possessed. Emerald flames filled the sea. The lost fleet charged. The immortal guardians followed. The greatest naval battle in history erupted beneath the ocean. Silver cutlasses flashed through black waves. Ancient anchors crashed against living darkness. The Deep Sovereign crushed ghost ships beneath its enormous claws. Yet every destroyed vessel returned because they were fighting for something greater than themselves. Samuel raised both hands. The heart compass exploded with white light. Every hidden sea route across the world appeared beneath the harbor. The oceans themselves answered. Massive currents wrapped around the Deep Sovereign, not to destroy it, to hold it. The creature struggled, but the sea no longer obeyed it. The first captain slowly approached the black door. He looked toward Blackbeard. "Only one choice remains," Blackbeard nodded. "I know. If the final door opens, the keepers disappear." The old captain smiled. "And the burden ends." Silence. Blackbeard looked toward the tide crown, then toward Samuel, then toward the countless pirate guardians who had stood watch for centuries. He quietly removed the crown from his head. "I never wanted to be remembered as the greatest pirate." He placed the crown into the white light. "I only wanted every sailor to find home." The tide crown dissolved into 13 beams of silver light. Each beam entered one remaining key. The final keys floated toward the ancient door, one after another. The locks slowly opened. The Deep Sovereign screamed with all the fury of the ocean. "No!" The last harbor trembled. The silent flagship glowed brighter than the stars. The ancient book turned to its very last page. Only one sentence appeared. "Blackbeard's greatest treasure." Another line slowly formed beneath it. Was the choice to give every treasure away. The 13th key slid into the final lock. The black door began opening completely, and from the endless white light beyond, someone slowly stepped forward. The black door opened. Not with thunder, not with fire, with sunlight. For the first time since the last harbor had been built, true daylight entered the kingdom beneath the sea. The white light spread across every ghost ship, every broken dock, every ancient stone. The Deep Sovereign screamed. Its enormous body cracked from head to tail. The endless darkness flowing through its veins began disappearing. From within the light, someone stepped forward. An old sailor. Simple white clothes, bare feet. A weathered compass hung around his neck. No crown, no sword, no treasure, only a warm smile. The first captain immediately bowed. The first pirate king followed. Then every ghost captain, every immortal guardian, even the sea itself, became calm. Blackbeard quietly asked, "Who are you?" The old sailor looked across the harbor. His eyes reflected every sunrise that had ever touched the ocean. "I've had many names. The helmsman, the wayfinder, the keeper of horizons." He smiled gently. "But before the first ship, I was simply the first sailor. Silence filled the last harbor. Samuel felt the heart compass become completely still. For the first time, its needle stopped moving. The old sailor looked toward him. It has found its home. The ancient book opened one last time. Its final pages revealed the truth. Long before kingdoms, before pirates, before maps, humanity feared the sea. One man built a small wooden boat, not to conquer, not to claim land, simply to explore. He taught people how to follow the stars, how to read the tides, how to rescue strangers, how every ocean connected every shore. His greatest lesson was simple. The sea belongs to everyone. Therefore it belongs to no one. The vision darkened. One day, from the deepest abyss, greed answered. The deep sovereign was born, not from the ocean, from human desire. Every captain who wanted to own the sea made it stronger. Every sailor who chose courage over greed made it weaker. The first sailor could not destroy it. So he built the last harbor, the final door, the tide crown, the heart compass, and chose generations of keepers to stand watch. The vision faded forever. The old sailor turned toward Blackbeard. You carried the burden well. Blackbeard lowered his head. History will remember me. As a pirate, the old sailor smiled. History remembers what people fear. It rarely remembers those who protected them. Blackbeard laughed softly. I suppose that's enough. The deep sovereign gave one final roar. Its gigantic body collapsed, not into blood, not into darkness, into ordinary seawater. The countless ships trapped inside it for centuries drifted free. Thousands of lost vessels slowly sailed toward the surface. The ghost captains smiled. Their long watch was finally over. One by one, their ships became white light. They saluted Blackbeard, the first pirate king, the old captain, Samuel, then disappeared beyond the horizon. The last harbor itself began changing. The black stone became white. The broken docks became green meadows. The ghostly sea became calm blue water. The white lighthouse shone one final time, then quietly faded. The first pirate king removed his captain's coat. His long burden had ended. He placed the coat into Blackbeard's hands. Blackbeard quietly shook his head. I don't need it anymore. The old king smiled. I know. He folded the coat carefully, then placed it upon the empty throne. The throne dissolved into sea mist. The tide crown resting beside it transformed into a simple wooden ship's wheel. The heart compass gently left Samuel's chest. It floated into the open sea, where it became the North Star. From that day forward, every honest sailor could always find the way home. The first captain looked toward the horizon. My voyage is finished. He stepped into the sunlight. The first pirate king followed. Then the old captain. One by one, every keeper disappeared into the morning light. Only Blackbeard and Samuel remained. The sea above slowly closed. The last harbor vanished forever. When they opened their eyes, they stood once again aboard the Queen Anne's Revenge. The ocean was peaceful. The crimson lighthouse was gone. The black fog had vanished. Only ordinary waves remained. Samuel looked around. No one will believe this. Blackbeard smiled. They're not supposed to. Years later, history remembered Edward Teach. Blackbeard. It remembered burning fuses in his beard, fearsome battles, captured ships, hidden treasure. It called him one of the greatest pirates who ever lived. But history never recorded why he avoided certain islands, why he destroyed maps instead of selling them, why he sank ships carrying mysterious black chests without taking a single coin. No historian ever discovered that Blackbeard spent his life protecting the greatest treasure on earth. Not gold, not jewels, not a forgotten kingdom. He protected the freedom of every ocean, and somewhere, far beyond every chart, where the horizon touches the sunrise, old sailors still whisper that on calm mornings, a lone black ship can sometimes be seen sailing silently toward the light. No cannons, no battle flags, only a weathered captain standing at the helm, still making certain that every lost sailor finds the way home. Because the greatest pirate history ever feared was never searching for treasure. He was guarding the sea itself.